have a question for you.
Uh-oh.
You are so busy with all the things that you do, and you work out, you do your study, you go to the gym, you go on walks, you have, these groups of women, you do your health coaching, and you're feeding into a lot of people.
Yes.
So, how do you find your time to be quiet, to meditate, to do the grounding thing? How do you do that?
I'm not going to say that I always do it well, because I was even thinking today as I was rushing around downstairs and I like knocked something over, and I literally told myself out loud, Carla, slow down. You have got to slow down.
Yeah.
Like, this has got to stop. And
Yeah.
I mean, I move at such a fast pace anyway, but I just, it's waking up early, and it's going straight from there. And it's either doing, my journaling quiet time early and then to the gym, or opposite. I knock out the gym and I come home and then
Mm.
chill for a little bit and do that. And I think I like that better. This morning I flipped it, just didn't feel the same.
It didn't feel right. Yeah.
But I do always I like the darker quiet of the morning. And
Mhm.
especially when I have Christmas lights, which I don't have up yet, but inside where I come plug them in, it's just
Yeah,
really, it just feels good.
it does. So
Um,
cozy.
and if I go to the gym first, then I lose that, because by the time I get home, it'll be light. So anyway, it's that. And then my walking is either squeezed in right after that, because it's not a long walk, it's to take the dogs and get out, or it's broken up a couple times, or I do it later. I did a
Mhm.
very short one this morning, and I'll take the dogs out in a little bit because it just feels good to me to get
Yeah.
out. And that's where, like I said, that's where I slow down and I walk, and I just have that peace, and then I come back and I do more. So the walking group, it's one day a week. I put a post out, then I'm done. The monthly women's group, there's not that much to it outside of cultivating relationships from that. uh,
Mhm.
and then probably the podcasting is, the most time consuming, and the coaching, because I do have a handful of coaching clients.
Yeah. So,
So
like, if someone came to you and was like, "I just don't have a routine like that. I'm not like that, Carla." Like, what motivates you? Like, I'm like you, but I
I
think
know.
about a lot of people that
Yeah.
don't have that. And I was kind of asking myself these questions earlier, just whatever. And
Yeah.
I thought I'd ask you because you seem organized, or if someone says, I'm not organized, do people ask you that in your groups of women? Like
Yeah,
how,
it's
why, or what
funny.
drives you?
Yeah, it's funny that you're asking this, because last night when I did a Zoom coaching call, and it's not like I do a monthly membership, and that is not included. I just felt like, hey, my clients need like some time to ask me questions. And so I scheduled an hour for them just to hop on. And there was things like that, I just don't know how. I work all day, and I get home and I don't feel like working out, but then in the morning I don't, so it was a lot of that conversation, and I don't feel motivated. And that was one of the biggest words. And that's one of the things that I have recognized lately, is it's, if we wait for motivation, there's so many times it's
Doesn't
not
just show
happen.
up.
It's discipline. And so it's creating that discipline, and then committing to it, and consistency. So when we were talking last night, that was a big thing that came up, was consistency and discipline and committed. And that's just, I know where I'm at. If I don't do that, then things just don't roll well for me. So if I'm disciplined in my working out, and I'm disciplined in my time, to be quiet, and disciplined in my walking, and disciplined and focusing, which is where I probably have the hardest time, is when I have to sit there and focus on writing out my show notes, my podcast stuff, my
Mhm.
client stuff, sending out emails without trying to check my phone or distract myself, because I might want to be doing something else, because that's not, the little details aren't necessarily the fun part, but I know it has to be done. So, I mean, that's kind of what I said. It's discipline. And because this morning, I wasn't that motivated to go to the gym. And I found after I sat and I had my coffee and I did my quiet time, and then the sun was coming up. It was getting pretty, and we haven't seen sunshine in a few days. And I was like, I don't want to go. I just want to go outside. And
Yeah.
but then I was like, nope, I'm going. And I did it. So
Yeah.
that's
Wow.
just but it sure doesn't mean it all runs and rolls perfectly, because it doesn't. And there's days I feel like I'm running in circles, and then I'm like, okay, well, we'll try again tomorrow.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
But you know so well that when you do it, whether it's your exercise or your Bible study, you know you're getting something out of it. You
Yeah.
know that you're one step closer to your goal, or if you've already reached your goals, you feel good. I mean, that's where I'm at in my life right now. I know that if I don't go exercise, I'm not going to feel good inside physically as much as
Yeah.
if I didn't, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And that's what I was telling them too. I said, it's like anything else. Once you develop that consistency and that discipline, you're going to wonder, how did I not do this before? How was I not getting up in the morning? Or how was I coming home from work and just sitting on the sofa when I could have, taken a walk that energized me? Or,
Yeah.
you know, and
And
I
what
said,
people I don't think really understand is that it gives you energy.
yeah.
Once
So
you
you
get
might come
past
home worn out, but if you keep going, okay, I'm gonna put my shoes
yeah,
on and I'm just going, you realize how much better you
yeah,
feel. And all of a sudden you're breathing the air outside and you're like, okay, this is nice, and
yes.
you're energized. And yeah,
And you and I have trained enough people to know that people, when they get past the 2 weeks mark, for me, I kind of see a 2-week mark because your body's getting adjusted to the times, getting adjusted to the working out, your body and the
yeah,
soreness and all. Something about that 2 weeks, they start looking for it, craving it, like, "Oh, I missed my workout."
yeah, I
And
know.
even for me, I've been exercising my whole life because that's the only thing my parents knew to do me is exercise her, you know? So I don't remember not. But if
Yeah,
I go a few days without not, I can see where people are like, that 3rd day, "Oh, I
yeah,
don't really feel that motivation anymore. I don't feel
yeah,
all the oxygen still in my body that's giving me energy from those days of working out, and it starts to fade."
yeah,
And it's like that with my quiet time
yeah.
too, my time with the Lord.
Well, and especially during this season and this time, is one thing I was saying is everybody gets so busy and they're so tired and so many things going on, and schedules that are different with events and parties, and staying up late, shopping online, whatever the things are that you want to go, "Ugh, you know what, I don't have to work out today," or you know what, I'm just going to eat that whatever bag of chips for dinner because I don't have time to make a meal. And you just start sliding, and then that just keeps going. And then all of a sudden you're to, January 4th, and you're going, what happened?
And then
You
you
know,
run to the
and I feel
gym, and then
horrible.
it's super crowded in January
Yeah.
because 90% of people do that. As you and I know, we've witnessed it. We teach classes, so we see. And right now, the
Yeah.
classes are scarce.
Yeah.
September, once school starts, that class is packed,
Yeah.
and then it just
It
starts
just goes in and
fading.
out.
And
Yeah.
then and it's not the first week in January because
Yeah.
I've figured that one out too.
Yeah.
People are like, "Oh, well, excuse, I gotta nurse the hangover, well, the
Yeah.
kids are going back to
About,
school,
about
college
January
kids even
8th or
go."
9th.
Yeah, and it's like that 2nd week, and it's just
Yeah.
slam packed, and then middle February, again, and then
Yeah.
it's like this right before summer and then right before
Yeah.
school, and I want people to get into I don't want them to be in that group. I want
Hmm.
them to be in the group of, "Sure, I had a bad couple of days or a bad couple of weeks, but I wanna keep
Yeah.
rolling, keep moving." It's a marathon, not a
Yeah.
sprint,
It just
right?
because you have a bad day doesn't mean you keep going. It was a bad day and you move forward. You're done. You
Right,
know?
and I
Yeah.
feel like that with my barking dog and my spirit and all that
Yeah.
stuff too.
Everything.
However, a lot of times we just base it on how we feel. "Well, I don't feel like it today."
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like you said about discipline, that's when you do it anyways.
Yeah. Yeah.
And every time I've done it, I've never regretted it.
I know, right? Or if you go and you don't have the greatest workout or whatever, you're like, but I did it. I was here and I did it, you
Yeah.
know?
So have you been finding about like the past couple of weeks, we just decided to do this barking dog thing and the spirit lead and all. I loved your stories and your vulnerability and your honesty about what you said, because everything you said is pretty much, we're all thinking those same things too. We all
Yeah,
suffer and have
yeah,
these thoughts and battling, right?
yeah.
So is there any stories or anything you want to share that you feel that
um, I mean, the things I would say, like in what I have discovered maybe in the last week is, a lot of women tell me that I'm a connector. And so when I've been writing and journaling and, kind of seeing my connecting of when I doodle or, it made me think of connecting and how much I do love connecting people and connecting women. And just that I love you. We talked about generosity a little bit,
Mhm.
and I feel like I can be so generous with my time. If someone needs me, someone wants to do something, but then again, I was like, but am I really? Because I kind of pull back on certain things with time too.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I just thought a lot about things like that and connecting women. I actually have another thing, which I'm not going to share what it is yet, but it's another connecting group, another way to connect, and you're going to love it.
Is it a surprise?
Yes, I'm not telling yet because I can't. Yeah, but
Darn
uh,
it.
I know it just came up, but and again, so as I'm having another way to connect with women, I'm like, okay, can I do all of this well? Can I do all these things I'm getting involved with and do it well?
Yeah.
Because I have such a heart's desire to just pull women together because I just see how much women
It
need it.
helps.
And
It
yeah,
helps.
it's just, and how if we're not intentional in coming together and connecting,
Mhm.
it's not going to happen because life is busy and crazy. And so that's a lot of what I've been thinking on. And as I spent time with someone yesterday and connected, and it's someone new to town and literally knows no one but her daughter.
Mhm.
And it just caused me to think, I've lived here 22 years in Drip, but then in Austin before that. I can't imagine going somewhere completely new and not having someone trying to connect and pull me in.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a lot of what I've been sitting with and thinking about is the connecting piece. And I love that I never saw myself as a connector. And, now I do. And I love that the Lord has gifted me with that.
Really? Isn't that
Yeah.
funny? Because I would just assume that you knew that.
No,
Like, of course, Carla is a connector, always.
I think because
Yeah.
before, a lot of times I let everything hold me back from connecting. There was always an excuse, like the monthly women's thing here in the home. Oh, my home, oh, it's so old and it's ugly, and I don't want to clean. A million excuses. And then the same with the walking group. Well, what day? Well, what if I can't go every week? And it's like, just do it. Bring women together, whoever comes, and you just keep going along. And I've seen the friendships it's formed and the connections that it's created, and I love it.
Well, I just want to say thank you so much for just being a part of that, because I admire you. You motivate me. Friendships and connection help me. When I'm sitting here doing my journaling, I think about my friends that are journaling
Yeah,
with me in a way, right? And I'm
yeah,
like, oh, I wonder what they're getting or feeling. And I didn't have that for a long time. I just did it by myself. It's more enjoyable, you know,
yeah.
and
Everything's
knowing that y'all
better
are doing,
together.
huh?
I
Would you
said everything's better together,
it
and
is.
when you can share about it with others, just like it's fun when you have like interests or whatever, where you can share. You and I have that passion for exercise and nutrition and fitness and women. And then when you can share in that together and the conversations together, and just like the journaling and anything else, it's just, it makes it better.
Yeah, for things. Um, so in this last week, we're not going to come back together again. It's more of, let's just talk about, well, we are, trust me. That's for next time. But,
Yeah.
doing the study in our barking dog, I loved the visual, because it's something
Yeah.
so simple. I've met a lot of people, talked to people that are like, I just don't know how have time, or I don't know what to do in the moment. And in the moment, I have a visual of my barking dog. And so I can quickly decipher and do, if you need scripture, the scripture came to me in the middle of all this, and we discussed it even, and it was Galatians 5. I mean, the whole chapter is amazing, but it basically breaks down what is of God and what isn't of God. And what is of God is Galatians 5:22, the fruit of the spirit, which is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. Those
Mm.
things. It's hard, but we're not perfect. We're humans. We're gonna is what are those thoughts? And Jordan and I talked about it a little bit of, do you have a bombarding thought that just kind of is always there, you know? And I know we all do, right? Until we go meet our maker. And
Yeah.
so one of the lessons that I've learned and tricks that I've learned is, while you're journaling, take that emotion or the thought, like say aging, right? Something I think about every day. I
Yeah.
won't fight it. I want to be healthy and all the things, you know? And so I put that word in a circle and then draw a line and say, where is that thought coming from? Well, that thought's coming from this. And where's that coming from? Draw a line. Well, it's coming from this. Okay, what does God say about that? And then I go and I find what God says about it. And every time, whether it's finances, Carla, whether it's aging, whether it's being our age and trying to find a new job, right? All those doubts, all those
Mhm.
insecurities, it goes, right back to scripture. And I kept hearing Jeremiah 29:11, Jeremiah 29:11. And
Mhm.
no matter what thought I had, it went back to that, because he tells us, it's his word. He promises us, he has hope for us and a future to prosper us, you know?
Yeah.
So it's really made me digest some of it a little bit more into my being when it's hard to digest. It's hard to fully absorb into your skin that you're beautiful, or that you're smart, or that everything's going to be okay, or he likes me or she likes me, whatever those things are. And I tell myself it's because it's not good for me. He's got something better. He's
Yeah.
got something better.
Yeah. I
And
like how you broke that down though, in how you do it, and an arrow to this and right where that came from, an arrow to that, right where that came from, and then take it to scripture. I
yeah,
mean, I think that paints such a good, vivid picture, for people to understand, oh, well, I can do that. I can sit there and write down, because I think sometimes journaling and doing that time, we make it more difficult than it
yeah,
ever needs to be,
it
you know?
really so my heart starts pounding. I
Yeah.
start shaking, my usual panic attacks.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, why is your body uncontrollable right now? Why is this? I just put my hand on my heart and I'm just be in the present moment. Notice your breath going up and down. They're not asking for it in 30 minutes from right this second. So just calm down.
Yeah.
I did. And I was just, I started hearing some barking dog noises. And I was like, that's not truth. I'm going to go see what spirit has. So I got out my pen and I just started writing. I have to write this. I don't know what I'm going to do for this project. I need words. And I'm telling you, Carla, I am telling you, I didn't even have to look at the lines.
Yeah.
I wrote a 45-second poem
Oh,
about the YMCA. And I cannot believe that I wrote that.
really?
That wasn't from me.
Oh,
I
love
sent
that.
it to my songwriter friend, who's, Pauline, she's a singer, and she writes songs. And I said, let me know if this goes well. I put the video and everything together. And she wrote back and she was like, it's terrific if you wrote it. I was like, who else would have written it? Well,
Yeah.
you wrote it.
Yeah.
So I was so surprised. And just with the little things, Carla, the
Yeah.
little things.
Yeah.
If I tried to take control of that right then, I know my personality. I
Hmm.
would have been researching and going, what do other people say? Why? What is
Yeah.
this? I'm not talented enough. I can't write a long script like that. I can do little short ones here and there.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think we're capable of so much more.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Wow. I love that you did that.
I always say in my classes, your mind quits before your body
Mm.
because your body can go 100 times longer, further, farther,
Yeah.
faster, all of it. You know that. It's this that keeps us
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
doing it.
Yeah.
And
Amen.
it's the same thing with this journaling. And I just want to encourage those out there that we've identified the barking dog. So we did that. We identified it. We activated it. We activated it by doodling, meditating, generosity, going within, listening to music, all the things, trying to open our hearts. And then the third and last thing is practice.
Hmm.
Practice it. And I'm
Yeah.
inviting anyone out there right now to come practice with us because
Yeah.
we are going to continue to do this walk. And I would love to come back someday and, you know, talk about it some more.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm excited about that. And just, I feel like it brought me closer. It wasn't
Hmm.
for the beginners. You
Yeah. Right. It wasn't. And I mean, I loved it. It was a incredible journey, and it just kind of opened my eyes to things. And I think, like I said, a majority of it for me was going deeper, thinking more as I'm doing it, and just allowing it to happen versus making it happen or thinking this is what it has to look like or this is what I have to do.
Yeah.
Just allowing, the spirit to just take
Yeah.
over.
Go with the flow,
Yeah.
right? Go with
Yeah.
the flow.
Yeah. But I've loved it. It's been so
I
fun.
know. It's awesome. I love you.
I love
Thank
you.
you so much for doing this. And we'll talk soon.
Okay. All
All
right.
right. Bye. Curious to know how
Hmm.
things have been going, this whole little experiment that we're doing.
So I know we kind of mentioned being generous, and I think you can take that either way. You can think of like you have to do something to be generous, but I think it can also mean being generous like with your time. I'm
Hmm.
trying to be more generous with my time for people. And then not like trying to be more generous, but like almost like a self thing, like trying to be mindful as I think I give others a lot of my time rather than giving myself time. So I'm trying to be generous to myself.
Yeah, that's
But
important.
I seem to be do that a lot, and I wear myself out, and then I lose it.
Yeah.
And then I'm trying to put myself, be more generous and being mindful about others and being in their shoes. Like,
Mhm.
why are they reacting this way? And trying to be mindful about their reaction. Or maybe my whole thing of why I'm frustrated is not that big of a deal. Like, think about why they're frustrated or
Yeah.
why they're acting the way they are, and be just more mindful and generous with I guess, my emotion for others.
Yeah. Right. Like not taking it personal. Or
Yeah.
when I look back and go, I cannot believe I was so upset for like a whole day over that. And
Yeah.
that wasn't even what it was. right?
Yeah, so I'm trying to be more generous of others, like be mindful almost
Mm-hmm.
of others' emotions because we can all, I think, get wrapped up in our own world, which I think can be a good thing in certain things and also a bad thing is that we don't think about maybe this person, that walked into the shop that I work at had a horrible day and they're just going to be not so nice because they've had a horrible, like, you don't know their personal life. So just be more generous and mindful of you don't need to react because they're reacting.
Yeah. Yeah. So one of the things that we were talking about and, like this week and wrapping it all up,
Mhm.
it kind of came down to identifying it.
Yeah.
We identified it. And I like the visual that we did because
Yeah.
it's a lot quicker for me to
Hmm.
see. Yeah. And then the second part is activate it. And we activated it by going within, journaling, doodling,
Hmm.
seeing if we're generous, because that's going to open your heart. One of the scriptures that came to me was love covers a multitude of sins, and
Okay.
generous is love.
Hmm.
And so when we open ourselves up to our heart, because giving, that's a sacrifice.
Yeah.
And so one of the things I told Carla that I did was we've talked about over the past 3 weeks of the thoughts and the
Yeah.
barking dog. And I think maybe you would agree with me that you have found like maybe you have a certain thought that keeps kind of coming back around every now
Yeah.
and again. And so what I did was I put that thought and circled it and then drew a line and was like, well, where's that thought coming from? Right? Same
Hmm.
staging, you know? Well,
Yeah.
why am I upset? Where's that thought coming from? And then I write it and then I circle it. Where's that
Hmm.
coming from? A line, write it, circle it. And then I stopped and I was like, what does God say about that? What does God say about those circles? I'm going to go to the Bible. And all weeks, Galatians 5 has been coming up over and over again. And so I look at it and it actually is scripture that tells you everything that spirit is not.
Hmm.
And it tells you everything that spirit is. And so if I'm having a hard time deciding, if this is the right way or if it's not, what does God say about it? And Galatians 5:25 says, since we are living by the Spirit, let us follow the Spirit's leading in every part of our lives. That's what we're doing.
Yeah.
And so then I read, well, what is spirit? How do you recognize it? It's the fruit of the Spirit, which is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self control.
Hmm.
Like I read those words and I'm just like, poor me, because it's a battle.
Yeah.
It's a battle. But I know that Spirit knows that we're trying. And every
Yeah.
time I try, I know. And then when you guys tell me your stories, it blesses me because I feel like God's going to bless you 100-fold just for taking the steps,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah. Just being, just, mm, it's not like causing an issue. I guess like when I'm, sorry. I think what we look back on were like our most number one enemy in a way. And I took a class last December, and it was just like you can be upset about something in your life if something upsets you for 30 minutes, and then you have to get up and dust yourself off and keep going because you can't let whatever just happened ruin your week because life goes on. And I think that it just like looking back on like all the time that I wasted on bettering my, or just like what we do waste bettering ourselves and trying to look in our spirit and ourselves and fixing the problem or just like reflecting. I think we can all get wrapped up in that. And it's not like a thing you can just fix right away. Of course, you have to look back and take a second and just relax and
Yeah.
look back about what why am I being like this, so reactive? Why am I having these thoughts of, back to like what you said, like the circling, like going back and seeing like just down the line. It's almost like reading the book backwards. Like, why are we
Exactly.
being like that? And then you just have to keep going and look to God, like what you were saying, on the spirit of what it's guiding you for the future rather than look back on the past.
Right. That's right. Because
Mm.
that's good, Jordan. I'm like, oh my God, totally know what you're saying. That's good.
I was like,
So
God, how do I explain? I'm also listening to the cat digging the trash can in the living room right now. So I'm
doing
trying to
your
record it.
ADD and all of that.
Why are you
Yeah.
saying congrats to both of us?
So they're like, all right, so you got 30 minutes and you've got 30 minutes. You got to make a reel and it's got to be 30 to 60 seconds long. And all we're telling you is the title of it is pretty much.
Yeah.
And so having my daily panic attack, of course, because that's all it takes is something like that to happen. And then I'm like, what am I going to do? And then I'm all over the place and I'm pacing, walking up and down. And I'm like,
Yeah.
why am I doing this? This is so silly. Just calm
Freaking
down.
yourself out.
Man, calm down. Take your breaths, lower my blood pressure. Got my pen, went. And you know what I started writing?
Hmm.
I'm supposed to do this and I have no idea what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm writing. So I'm just doodling by moving my hand and writing these words. I kid you not. 45-second poem flows out of my hand. It was amazing. I
I
was
wish
like,
I could do that.
how did that? I don't do that. I mean, I like poems and I've written
Mm.
poems before, but I'm not like a poem writer. I got a book or anything kind of thing,
Yeah.
scripts. So I sent it to my friend Pauline, she's that country and western singer, songwriter. I was like, what do you think about that? And she was like, it's terrific if you really wrote that.
You're like, girl, I did.
Well, he wrote it, right?
Yeah.
Because that's the only thing I can say. How was I rhyming words like those words together? That's not me.
I
So
mean, was it
really
relative to what you were freaking out about, or just like relative to the situation?
I wrote the 30 to 60-second reel for my thing,
Oh,
for the job. That
that's
was a poem that rhymed.
wow.
I was like, no way. Because I only had 30 minutes. I mean,
Yeah.
usually, the kind of pressure though I put on myself is there's no way I can do that in 30 minutes. I'm
Yeah.
going to need like 24 hours to like meditate and soak it in and get
Think
all the
about it.
creative juices rolling and flowing. And maybe I could ask London, or maybe I need to research this, or what's that? Pull, because I'm not
Yeah.
capable of it. That's what
Yeah.
I'm thinking. That's why I'm panicking. I can't do it. I'm not going to
Mhm.
be able to do it. I'm not going to get the job. I'm not going to get more money for my family. And then we're going to die. There's my trail of thought, right?
That's
I mean,
I went
it's
I
the
went
only.
through I went through somewhat a similar thing yesterday, not like that, like not similar, but like an adult scenario where we freak ourselves out more than we need to. Is that I had an injury, as you know, in July. And while that injury was happening, I'm going to the emergency room. The whole time I'm like, how am I going to pay for this? I can't even pay for this. There's no way. Well, I should not be going as my foot is stuck in my shoe and I heard it go like snap. I'm like, oh no, I can't afford
Yeah, I
this.
saw that leg. That
Like,
leg looked broke.
yeah, like so, months later, then all this stuff comes in. And I get all these paperworks of adult bills, and I'm like, how am I gonna pay for this? Like, I shouldn't have booked a vacation. I shouldn't have done this. I know what, like, you just go down
Mhm.
that hole, and of course it's like 10 o'clock at night. And I'm like, why do I freak myself up? Like 10
And then you
o'clock at
can't
night.
sleep.
Yeah.
And then
So I'm
your
like, you know what?
stomach's in knots.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm gonna go shower. I took a shower, I turned on the water super hot and
Yeah,
just calmed down. And then I talked about it with Nathan. And then he made me feel better, what we can do, what the steps we need to start taking towards that
mhm.
rather than like in the moment. There's nothing I can do right now other
Exactly.
than calm
Not
down.
one thing.
Nope. But it's just we freak ourselves out, I think, so much
We're so
in
quick to jump down that
that hole.
storyline.
Yeah.
instead of there's always a solution.
Yeah. There's no reason for us to go from like it's 0 to 10. Like you're going like
Mhm.
this where you're fine. And then like it's like an inconvenience. And you're like,
Yeah.
oh, nope, my life's done.
Yeah.
Today's ruined. It's
Yeah.
worst day ever. And then it's just like we get so caught up in that rather than stepping back, taking a moment, breathing, writing down your
Mhm.
thoughts, or taking a shower, or doing what you need to
Right.
do to like a reset. And then
Exactly.
just start writing down or thinking or taking that step. What can you do first? And you sat down and you let your pen go. And that's what that
Exactly.
first step was. And you did what you needed to do.
And then
And then
opening my brain up, right?
yeah,
'Cause it's opening my brain up to more information and all this. And then he gave me the words. That's all I can say,
yeah,
you know?
that's
Another
really cool.
story I wrote down that I haven't told anyone this, but it reminded me, God reminded me of this story earlier, starting out voiceover, and there's all these things you have to do. You got to do it right. You got to do all these auditions and get them in. And there's these things. And then I had a friend come along and say, can you do me a favor? I have this nonprofit organization and I would love for you to come out on the weekend, early Saturday morning. And I would like for you to do the announcements. And you can even pre record it, play it while you're there. And she's a good friend of mine, so of course wanted to do it.
Yeah,
However, not getting paid for it. I know that I wanna be generous with that, something
yeah.
really wanna do, but there is that part of me that I'm like, "But I'm not getting paid for it." Do you know what I mean? Like,
I totally
do I
get that.
really wanna do this? Is this really, and I felt spirit tell me, "Follow my lead
Hmm.
because you're doing this out of the kindness and the love for this nonprofit,
Hmm.
for your friend. I see you." And I
Yeah,
had such exciting feeling about it. Well, that's how I met the radio guy who ended up giving me my radio jobs.
yeah.
I
Sometimes
mean,
it just leads to one thing. And for
yeah.
real estate, like for leases, they don't get me much, not enough, not a lot for leases, but as you know, time's gone on and I've had my license for 2 years now, I've realized that it's not about you doing the moment. Sometimes it's connections that you make during that moment. So there's been two
Mhm.
like years now where I have clients that, give referrals, or you meet someone in that scenario, or it just takes one person to make you feel special. It takes a lot of people that you have to do a lot of things you don't want to do first before it gets that person. But of course, a nonprofit and like an organization, that's awesome that you got to do that for your friend. And then you also got something,
I
like met someone
know.
out of that.
I would have never, I mean,
You wouldn't have met him
no,
if you didn't do
never.
that. And not saying like
Exactly.
you wouldn't have if he did or didn't, but just like the fact that you trusted yourself and your instinct of, I should do this. And
Mhm.
then it almost like gave back to you and it paid off for just taking a step back.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for doing this with
Yeah.
me.
I can give you a story, which I mean, no one can convince me that this, and I don't even know where this came from, but the whole red bird thing is like, have you heard this? Like when a red bird comes, it's like it's someone that's passed.
Yeah, like specifically, like on my picture, my profile, I
Mm-hmm.
have what looks like an ice cream cone, but it's really
Mm-hmm.
flowers. And what is apparently supposed to be the cherry is a red cardinal in my profile.
Yes, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it's the
Yeah.
cardinal. Okay, so I've anytime I would just see them, I'd be like, oh, maybe that's my grandma, or maybe that's Carrie's dad, or but I didn't know, like, there was nothing saying that it was a certain person for sure, or that,
Mm-hmm.
but so I had a client who it was an elderly couple I had their house listed. We were in the process of purchasing their new house. I'd become really close with this lady, like adored her. And she
You were
passed
selling
away.
their house?
Yeah.
Wait, so were you
His
showing?
first son, and like um I like a couple of Saturdays I went over and had coffee with her. Like we had built a relationship outside of just showing houses. And But she was pretty stressed about some things, and she ended up having a heart attack and dying in the process of this.
Oh my gosh.
And it was literally so sad. Like, I mean, just it was sad for many reasons. Her husband ended up having to go into, he had some dementia, so then he had to go into like a care unit rather than living with his wife, and change things for her son and all those stuff. Anyway, the day I was driving there to get to their house that I had listed, it sold, and I was going to pick up the sign out of the yard, and to get to their house, like you're just kind of driving down like a wooded road first, like or
Mm-hmm.
tree, heavily treed. And I'm just driving along, and this, I mean, I could almost cry, like even still, this red bird just flew right in front of my car, and I'm like, no freaking way. Like, I know that was her. I know it
Yeah.
was. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm crazy, I'm crazy, and I don't care. I like when you know that you've heard something or felt something or seen something. So I would never dispute what you say you've experienced or heard. And even if I haven't heard it in the same way,
Yeah.
that makes sense. But I do
Yeah.
know what it feels like to feel someone's presence, or it's like, to me, I think there's the term God wink. Like it's God's way of revealing to you, like, I think he thinks that he knows those relationships were special, and he knows it's hard to release fully, and like, and I think he gives us those sweet moments, or those, whether it comes directly to you or from through someone else, to just like
Mm-hmm.
confirm the feelings that are there in the relationship. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, I'm not going to act like I know how to explain it, or that I'm not like a medium, or I mean,
Yeah.
I don't.
Or why would you just, I mean, in that split second moment, you don't have time to decide
I couldn't have
whether
said
you thought it was her or not. Oh,
right.
there's a cardinal. I remember a story. I wonder if,
Mhm.
oh, this, I mean, so many things are happening, and you're driving and you're going and you're picking this up, and then this bird happens and you're just like, oh my God. It's like, it's
You just
instant.
know, yeah.
It's instant.
You couldn't concoct the story, because it's too,
Right. Why?
yeah. And
So,
honestly, if I had made the story up, I would, that was 3 years ago. I couldn't remember it today. You know what I'm saying? Like, I
oh,
don't,
yeah.
I don't have that good of a memory of
Yeah.
of like a lie or a made up something.
Yeah, exactly.
It
Because
was,
you know the way that it made you feel,
yeah.
you know?
So,
We're going through that whole thing, and he was getting back. And he was thinking all the silly things that the young kids do at that time of insecurity, especially like, oh my God, what's everybody going to think? No one,
mhm,
I said, Miles, no one cares.
yeah.
I hate to tell you this, but no one cares.
They don't.
And people take gap years, and people go back to school and leave and come back to school. No one's
Mhm,
tracking you, making
yeah.
sure, oh,
Yeah.
what we think in our heads, right?
Here's real proof. If you want to give a nice example of people don't care or notice half the time, even on social media, I can't tell you, for probably at least 2 or 3 years, that I was putting out, being a realtor. Like, I would make posts of this house I had listed, this house I had sold, like blah, blah, blah. There's stuff. I mean, in my mind, the whole world surely knows I'm a realtor, because it's out there to see. I would have people be like, I didn't know you were in real estate. And I'm like, really? Like, so that, good or bad, whatever it is, people don't really know what you're doing.
No,
Honestly.
especially me.
Like,
They don't
yeah, even I have to track you down. Like, what is she
what
up
is
to?
that again?
But yeah, no,
That's
it's
so wild.
has your family seen the movie The Blind? It's the movie about
I'll write that
well,
down.
Yeah, Phil Robertson, the Duck Dynasty guy, and his wife.
No, I haven't, but I've heard about it.
Please go see it and take your kid. My girls, like, even they like loved it, and it's so like it just leaves you like my kids left feeling the same way I did of like
Uh-huh.
just literally all you want is your home and your family and your like your peace and like it just not that we can't strive for things. I'm not saying that. Like
Yeah.
obviously it's fine. We can have goals and dreams and whatever, but it just it minimizes how you feel about goals and dreams and elevates how you feel about it's just a good visual about like what's important. It's just wholesome and sweet and like good.
Mm-hmm. I
But I
can't
would
rent it. I have to go to the movie theater.
it actually might be streaming now.
Okay.
Because
The
it's been
Blind.
uh-huh. Yeah,
Okay.
look for it.
And you said Duck Dynasty?
So it's
The
like
family or
it's
they funded it?
it's about them. It's a true story
Oh, it
about them.
is.
Yeah.
Don't tell me anymore.
Okay. Yeah. I think I'm a little like I've enjoyed being home and getting to be creative and doing some of this stuff. I'm thankful I get to work for myself. I'm all of those things, but it's also nice to be like, here's a task, you completed it, you get paid for it, and it feels productive. And
Yeah.
I'm like, I needed that. Like
Yeah.
I don't have to have it constantly, but I needed a glimpse of it so that I could
Yeah.
feel like inspiration to keep going, you
Well,
know, and
and the
keep
chasing of the jobs. That
yeah.
I'm worn out. I'm worn
Yeah.
out. I'm
Well, I'm
chase,
just
chase,
gonna
chase. But when you get one and
yeah,
you feel consistency,
yes.
makes you motivated. Keep
Consistency
going.
like equals peace, I feel like,
Yeah.
in a way. Like it's just when everything is constantly a roller coaster, and that's how real estate was too. I was like, I'm not made for this. I need
Yeah.
I will work so hard and I will do the chase and I will work off the clock hours, whatever. It's not that. It's just that I also need some stability and
Yeah.
some to feel
Yeah.
like what I'm doing it matters and makes a lick of difference, you know,
Yeah.
instead of just like, you know, I mean, I told Carrie, I'm like, I honestly, I enjoy cleaning my house and unloading my dishwasher because it's like, I know what I accomplished.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's my house is clean. Like,
Yeah.
I did something and I got a result, you know,
Right.
but so,
All right.
all
Have a
right,
good
love
one.
you.
Love
You
ya.
too. All right,
Bye.
bye.